Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ad America. My name is James, one of the e-guides here in Ad America. We welcome audience members joining us here with me. Ad America is the United States Embassy's American Center, and our mission is to provide a space for young Indonesians to learn more about the United States. Today, we will be having GED test preparation, reasoning through language arts. But before we begin, let's break the ice with a little game. I have here a question for everybody. True or false, taking the GED test and attaining a high school equivalency certificate are the same thing. Stay tuned until the end of this program because we'll be giving a live shout out to who can answer correctly on our social medias. Other than that, I would like to ask everyone to take a selfie and tag at America's Instagram account. And now, without further ado, let me introduce everyone to our moderator for today. We have Zachariah Shatkam, a GED qualified instructor. Zach, the stage is yours.
Yep, thank you. Thank you so much. Hello and welcome everyone to yet another session of GED Prep Class by America, Reasoning through Language Arts, or as we know it is English. In the last 14 sessions, we have gone through reading nonfiction and reading fiction. We have gone through some grammar and language rules in English, and also we have done some recap, and we have talked about what we are asked or what we are needed or required to do during the test. In today's session, we are going to talk about some strategies. I'll give you some tips if you are kind enough to accept them. I hope that you all enjoyed today's session, and yes, let's continue. So this is session 40, this is session 15. In the last 14 sessions, from session 1 to session 7, we talked about reading nonfiction and analyzing nonfiction. In session 1 and 2, we did an overview of reading comprehension overall. And from session 8 to session 14, we went on to talk about reading fiction. We learned what fiction texts consists of, and what we are expected to do during the test. But by the way, when you read fiction text during the test, they are not like the usual fiction. They're not going to be novels. You'll mostly see some poetry, which I will certainly provide practice for. Anyway, so before we continue, let's do a recap of session 14, which was the previous session. In session 14, we reviewed reading fiction. We said that there are genres in any text that you choose is actually part of a genre, so it belongs to a genre. There are main genres like fiction, nonfiction, poetry, folklore, and drama. So we said that the subsections for reading for nonfiction, there is texts are actually based on their intention, on their purpose. So we have informative texts, we have persuasive texts, we have just like instructional, and also we said that the main subgenres of fiction is we have fantasy, we have novels, text, we have science fiction, and fantasy, they include magic and all. So anyway, that's repetitive. Let's not go through them. Again, poetry, they focus on beauty of language, and they try to use beautiful language, beautiful words to express ideas. And we went on to talk about theme. We said that theme is basically the biggest lesson that we can learn from a text. It doesn't really matter whether it's fiction or nonfiction. Inference, we said that it's the conclusion that we come to based on the evidence and examples given in the text. Story structure, we said that any story that you read must have a structure, and we learned about the conventional story structure, which is you have the exposition, we did the pyramid. We said that you have the exposition or setup, and then you have the conflict, and then the tension here rises, and then here is the climax, and then falling action, and then the resolution of denouement. And we went on to talk about characterization. We said that characterization is basically how the author characterizes characters. It can be done directly and indirectly. Directly meaning that the author states explicitly some traits for a character, like calling the character lazy, arrogant, stupid, intelligent, kind-hearted, cruel. And we went on to talk about figurative language. We said that figurative language is basically the opposite of literal language. Literal language, the words, they mean exactly how they are said. These sentences mean exactly what they are supposed to mean. But in figurative language, it's your job, it's the reader's job to figure out what a sentence means. Anyway, before we go on to talk about today's session, we will do a practice. So the practice, this is the same text that you had in the previous session at the end when we did not have enough time to go through it. But today we do. So let's practice that. Open your Mentimeter account, Mentimeter application, or if you have an account, great. If you don't, it's fine. Just open the application on your phone or go to the website. You don't even have to log in. Just be ready to write down the code that you will see in the next screen. Anyway, so go there. You have around 15 minutes. Let's try to finish it until 3:20. If not, you'll have 15 minutes and we will come back at 3:23. Okay, everyone, good luck. And I hope that this is easy for you. And if you have any questions, of course, feel free to ask them either in the chat box or through the Mentimeter code that you all have. Anyway, good luck. Okay, I see that most of you are not done. We'll give you until 3:25 to answer the questions, and that will be the final. Okay, uh, that that's it. Now let's go to the next slide to see how you guys have done. Okay, now in the next slide, let's go to the first question. The first question is, which of the following is not a reason in the article explaining why tigers are hunted? So option A was, for question number one, option A was because tiger skins are worth a lot of money. And now, the thing that you have to keep in mind in the question is the word not, right? So that's why you have to be really mindful of. This is going to be one of the tips that I'll give you later on, because you will see this a lot. So which one of these are the reasons why tigers are hunted, except for, and then you have not or except. Look out for those words because they are really important, and if they are not, if the questions are not carefully read, then you might, answer incorrectly, even though you knew the right answer anyway. So which of the following is not a reason in the article explaining why tigers are hunted? We know that it talks about tigers' skin worth. It talks about tigers being used as medicine. But what it does not say, it does not say that tigers attack local villages, and that's why they are hunted. This is not mentioned in the article, even though that is sometimes the case. Anyway, so for question one, option C is correct. This option right here is correct. We know that the other options are mentioned in the passage, but option C is not. So now, which animal does not, again, not grow larger than the tiger? If we go back to the article, if we go back to the article, we can see here very clearly. Let me choose a highlighter and maybe, yes, light green is fine. So the only larger carnivores, right here, are polar bears and brown bears. So tigers are actually the third largest land carnivore. And that means that brown bear right? And polar bears. So now, all of these animals grow larger. A lion does not. It's not mentioned in the passage. So option B should be the correct option. And option A, brown bear, it does grow larger. The question says does not. So you have to be mindful of that. And option D is also incorrect. And that makes option C also incorrect. Option B is correct. Now, question number 3. It talks about which number is closest to the estimation of the wild tiger population in 2003. Now, we know that 2003 is the 21st century. Now, if you go back and learn that in the beginning of 20th century, it talks about the number of the population of tigers in the world. It says that at the start of 20th century, there were over 100,000 tigers living in the wild. We know that this 20th century starts from 1900 and ends in 1999. Now, by the turn of the century, that means by the turn of the century, in the beginning of 21st century, the number of tigers have started to dwindle to just over 3,000. And we know that 2003 is, of course, 21st century, and that's when the number 3,000 becomes relevant. And that's, of course, the start of these only 3 years in the century. And we know that option A is the correct option, because option B, 100,000, is incorrect because that is at the start of 20th century, not 21st. And we know 2003 is part of 21st century. Okay, question 4. Which of the following best describes the author's main purpose in writing this article? Okay, after reading this article, how do we feel? We see some information, right, about tigers. It talks about why tigers are hunted. It talks about population of tigers. It talks about, some preservation attempts and some successful ones. But it does not try to persuade us, right? It only tries to, it does not try to entertain us. It does not talk about something that we are amused about. So the intention here is to actually inform us. So option D is correct. Well done, yes. To explain to readers why the world's tiger population is in danger. That's exactly what the article talks about. Option B, to persuade readers to help world's tiger population and to offer ways to help. And no, it does not talk about that. Although it can be something that we can learn from the passage, but this is not the main purpose of this author. The main purpose of this author and this passage is to inform you. Question 5. Information in the third paragraph is mainly organized using which text structure? So now let's go to the third paragraph and read it. So I have kind of separated the paragraph due to really tight space. I could not, put them in next line, but I have. So this is the end of paragraph 1. This is the end of paragraph 2, and this is the end of paragraph 3. We know text structures. We know that there are different types of text structure. So we know that there is cause and effect. We know that there is descriptive writing, compare and contrast, which you guys can see here on your screen as well. No problem and solution. And also, anyway, let's go and read the third paragraph. So tigers are hunted for many reasons. People have long valued the famous striped skins. The trading tiger skins is now illegal in most parts of the world. Tiger pelts are worth around $10,000 on the black market. The fur would be incentive enough for most poachers. Other parts of the tiger can also fetch a pretty penny. Some people in China and Asian cultures believe that various tiger parts have healing properties. So traditional Chinese medicine calls for the use of tiger bones among other parts. In some prescriptions, so other parts in some prescriptions. That's spirit. I have accidentally highlighted spirit. Anyway, now after reading that, we know that it talks about cause and effect. The effect here is tigers, being hunted, or getting hunted for money, and there are causes mentioned. Tigers' pelts being worth around $10,000 on the black market, and the fur being an incentive, and tigers being used for medicine. So we know that the effect and the cause are mentioned in that passage. So in that paragraph, so the structure used there is cause and effect. Well done. Now, question 6. Which best explains why tigers have lost so much of their habitat according to the text? Option A has only one. It says because tiger skins are extremely valuable because humans have changed the land. Okay, now let's go and read. Let's go and go through the text. So you had for question 6, you had the 4 options of because humans are afraid of tigers. Now we know that's not the case. Yes, we are afraid of tigers. That is true. But that is not why tigers have lost so much of their habitat. Option B, because tiger skins are extremely valuable. Yes. But does it best explain? Option C, because humans have changed the land. Option D, because tigers need so much space to survive. Now, we know that tigers, they do need so much space to survive. But then again, we read in the text, we know that option A is not the case. It's not mentioned in the passage. Option B, we know that it is one of the reasons, but it's not the main reason, right? And if we go and read here, we know that tigers, they do require a lot of space, but it says that even when these considerable space are allocated, it's even more difficult to patrol such large areas to prevent poaching. And we know poaching, hunting, is done by human. Going and living in the wild and hunting animals attack you, or through allocating different locations for tigers, but also even after allocation of those spaces for tigers, humans hunt them, which means that we have changed the land, and of course, in addition to that, we have changed the situation for tigers as well. We have made it difficult for a lot of animals. Maybe, okay, not going to say what I was going to say. Question 7. Based on information in the text, which best explains why tigers are poached? Based on information in the text. This phrase is something you will see a lot in the questions during GED, the GED test, of course. And when you read this phrase, all you have to kind of consider is what you have read in the text, not your outside information, not what you think is the answer, but you have to answer only based on what you have read. Now let's read the options. For question 7, you had a poachers hunt tigers to protect their families from, do you have that? No, that's not the case. I'll read it. And okay, option B, you had poachers hunt tigers for medicine to cure sick family members. Option C, poachers hunt tigers because they enjoy killing dangerous animals. And option D, poachers hunt tigers to earn large amounts of money. Okay, now we know that all of these options are mentioned in the text. but which one is the best explanation? Now let's go to the text and see. So after reading this text, we know that the value of tigers, they come up a lot, especially like in here. So other parts of tiger can also fetch a pretty penny. The tiger pelts are worth around 10,000 on the black market. Black market meaning even though it's illegal, they are sold. So tiger skin trading is now illegal in most parts of the world, but they are still legal in some part of the world. By this sentence, we know that in most part of the world, trading tiger skins is illegal, but also this implies that in some parts of the world, it is still legal. So we know that money plays a really large role, a big role, a huge role in tigers being poached. So we know that for question 7, option D is the best option because poachers and tigers earn large amounts of money. Question 8. So which best explains why it is so difficult to preserve the wild tiger population? For question 8, so you had tigers do not get along with most other animals. Where you had for option B, you had tigers must make their homes close to rivers. That is not even mentioned in the text, so let's not even consider that. Option C, tigers require a lot of space. That is mentioned in the text. And now option D, tigers hunt in large packs. Add. There are too few tigers left to make these packs. Okay, we know option D is not mentioned in the text, so let's just ignore that. Now the competition here is between option A and option C. And in the text, it does not really talk about tigers kind of not getting along with most other animals. It talks about tigers requiring a lot of space, but it does not talk about tigers needing, tigers not getting along with other animals. So we know that for question 8, option C is correct. And this is why it is difficult to preserve the tiger population or the wild tiger population based on this highlighted part of this passage. Oh, words highlighting the history. This. Okay. Again, let's go to question 9. Okay, for question 9, wow, 5 people have chosen B. Now let's read the options. So which of the following is an opinion? We should know this from our lesson on facts versus opinions. So saving the tiger population is important. It is obviously an opinion, and this can be argued. And if you go and read the other options that we had, tigers can grow up to 11 feet long. Is that mentioned in the text? Yes. And is that mentioned in a way that can be proven or disproven? Yes. So that is fact option. A is fact. Saving the wild tiger population is important. Option B. Okay, now let's just flag this. Option C. South China tigers were brought to live in South Africa. Yes, that is mentioned in the text, and that is something that you can either prove or disprove. Humans have endangered the world's wild tiger habitat. Tiger population, sorry. Yes, this can be either proven or disproven. But option B, saving the wild tiger population is important, is an opinion. And well done. Well done to you guys. Now, question 10. So based on context, which best defines the term rewilded as used in the last paragraph? Now let's read the options. For question 10, the four options that you had, so rewilded. That is the term that we have to look for. Basically, maybe before that, let's go and read that. So he who are also unable to sustain populations of a small number of China tigers, also so and then successfully rewilded a small number of South China tigers. Let's say we don't even know the meaning, and this, of course, is asked in the context, based on the context that is used in. And if you read this last paragraph, it talks about the tiger population faces many threats and obstacles to recovery. There have been some successes in conservation and preservation efforts. For example, Save China's Tigers, an organization working to restore the wild tiger population, successfully rewilded a small number of South China tigers. These tigers were born in concrete cages from parents who were also captive and unable to sustain in the wild. Okay, we know that these tigers were not really born in the wild. This organization brought these tigers to South Africa and helped them learn the necessary skills for a predator to survive in the wild. Okay, now their intention is to take them to the wild world. Current evidence indicates that the project has been successful. While this is just a small step, it shows that restoring the world's tiger population is possible. Okay, now let's go and read the options that we have. First one, option A is to preserve animals by keeping them in zoos. No, that is not how it's used. Teach animals to coexist with humans. No, that's not even mentioned in the passage. Clearly wrong. Option C, teach humans to coexist with animals. Nope. Option D, to bring animals born in back. That is the correct option. 10. Option D is correct. Well done. Now, question 11. So what does this idiom mean? So the idiom, other parts of the tiger can also fetch a pretty penny. What do you think it means? Now, so option, okay, let me read the options. You have chosen only option D and option B. So now, for question 11, option A is the fur is the only valuable part of the tiger. No, other parts. Option B, other parts of the tiger are worth a lot of money. The tiger is a very beautiful animal. Tigers can be trained to tricks like in the circus. Now, option A, no, because if we go and read the passage in here, so the fur would be incentive for most poachers. Other parts of the tiger can also fetch a pretty penny. It means that the fur is mentioned, so this is not about the fur. So this is about other parts. And we know that other parts of the tiger are worth a lot of money is the correct meaning of this idiom. Now let's go to question 12. And this is the last question. The question is, let me go and read the options. So the question is, which of the following could be best supported by information from the text? Now there is a statement that you have to, there are four statements and you have to choose which one is a statement maybe not mentioned in the text, but could be best supported by the information provided in the text. Now for option A, you have, so efforts to save tigers have had some success, but there are many obstacles to recovery. Okay. Okay, let's flag that. Let's keep that in mind. B. Option B, Efforts to save tigers have failed in the past, but there is reason to continue trying. Is this something that is supported in the text? No. In the text, it talks about efforts being successful in the past, not efforts being failures in the past. So, excuse me, having failed in the past, and we have to keep trying. That is not something that the article talks about. Option C, efforts to save tigers have been so successful that they saved tigers from endangerment. No, nope, nope. Option D, efforts to save tigers have failed completely. Nope. So the only option that makes sense and is the best supported one is option A. Efforts to save tigers have had some success, but there are many obstacles to recovery. And we know that is the correct option. Yeah. Because of this last sentence and the second last sentence in the passage. Anyway, well done, everyone. Now let's go to the next slide and talk about, yep, that's it. And let's go to the next slide and talk about today's session, which we have 40 minutes to go through, and I hope we have enough time. So now, by the way, if you have any questions, please feel free to either write them down in the chat box of Zoom if you are attending this session through Zoom or any platform that you are using to attend this session. Write down your questions in the chat box, and we'll certainly get to them. Go to Mentimeter and go to Mentimeter, write down this code and ask your question. Okay, anyway, in today's session, we are going to talk about punctuations. This is something that we have been trying to cover, but unfortunately, due to limited time, we have not been able to. It is something we will talk about today. We will talk about some strategies to prepare for the test, and also we'll talk about some strategies that we need to follow during the test or during taking the test in order to be successful in the test. And if we have time, we will practice. So anyway, punctuations. We know that the punctuations, they are a really important part of the language. So they tell you when to stop, when a sentence ends, when to pause. These are some really important things. And in English, you have, there are 14 of them. 14 of them here, but of course, there is more. Anyway, so you have end marks. End marks, they are written down, or they are placed at the end of a sentence. End marks, you have 3 end marks. You have period, you have question mark, and you have exclamation point or exclamation mark. So yeah, for period or full stop, it's used for declarative sentences. It means a sentence that is affirmative, and it's just a. By the way, the sentence should be complete. For instance, as you can see, I drink coffee in the morning. I like drinking coffee. I had breakfast this morning. I played football yesterday. These things. The second one is question mark. It is placed at the end of a question, a sentence that asks, so an interrogative sentence. For instance, you have, okay, did you have breakfast yesterday? Or do you know how to answer this question? That is, you know most of these, but there are some. And exclamation point, of course, it is placed at the end of an exclamatory sentence, meaning that a sentence that is full of excitement. When someone is excited and they say something, rather excitedly, that is when this mark is placed, this end mark is placed. So if you have this example, wow, this is the best coffee I have ever had. Wow, that is fantastic. Wow, what great news, these things. Sentences like these. So now the next one is karma. Karma is one of the tricky ones. So karma is, the main intention of, using karma is to add or insert pause. For instance, you want to say, hey, John, and then comma, and then pause, right? You read, and you're like, John, can you please do this for me? Hey, Josh, hey, Tim, hey, Jonathan, hey, Anthony. Anyway, these things. And then you also use commas to separate different items in a sentence. For instance, you have this first sentence, I have bought shoes, and then comma, you say, I have bought shoes, shirts, and socks. And then there is one comma to separate the first and second item, and there is another comma to separate the second and third item. And one of the mistakes that one of the places that people should use comma, and sometimes either they forget to, or they simply don't know that they should, is this last comma that you see here. So some people might write this sentence as to, like, okay, sorry, I have to rewrite this. So I have bought shoes, comma, and then might write down shirts and socks. Although this is how the sentence sounds when you speak, but we need this last comma, and this is called Oxford comma. This is called Oxford comma. And it's really important, especially for GED, because we have the writing section of GED RLA test. And in the writing section of GED RLA test, when you separate items or when you list items, you are expected to use Oxford comma. And Oxford comma, unless for shirts and socks they come together, that's a situation where you won't need to use Oxford comma, but then you will need to use another and here, and then an Oxford comma before that, right? So you say that I have bought in here, okay, I have bought Snickers, and then you say that I have bought Snickers, I have bought, for instance, you have this, I have bought Snickers, I have bought shirts, I have bought Snickers, I have bought shoes, I have bought shirts and socks. These are three sentences, and do you want to kind of list all those items in one sentence? That's when you say, I have bought Snickers, shoes, and shirts and socks. But if you have only three sentences in the manner of I have bought shoes, I have bought shirts, I have bought socks, in that way, you have to use Oxford comma, like I have bought shoes, comma, shirts, comma, and socks. Anyway, and also it is used to join phrases, meaning, and sometimes complete sentences as well. For instance, you have to use conjunctions. So we know conjunctions, like we said that we have to remember the acronym fanboys. We know that F stands for, A is and, N is nor, E is but, O is for, Y is yet, and is so. So for and no, but oh yet so. Fanboys. So we use these conjunctions to connect two independent sentences. Like I went jogging and I went to have breakfast. And then I went to have breakfast. You can say that. But if you want to use and, we know that we can't use and in the beginning of a sentence, right? So we need to use and in the middle and add a comma. But as well, so you can't say, I like reading. I like reading. And then you just go on to say, but I don't like writing. That's not how you phrase it. You have to use comma then before that. I like reading, but I don't like. Okay. And so as well, you have to place comma before this. And yet you use yet when you want to connect two sentences. I have I have paid the money yet I have not resigned. I have not received the item. I have paid the money, yet I have not received the item. That's when you use a comma. Anyway, that's that. And then you have colon. You know, these two dots, one on top of the other. Colon. So you have that. Almost looks like a person. Anyway, you have column, and you use it to introduce something, or kind of to explain something or a series of things. You list things like in here you can see that I do not have money to buy shoes. I need to buy a new pair. So this is kind of it explains this sentence why you need to do something. This sentence is kind of related to that sentence, right? So there is this the reason or the explanation, or maybe this is the reason or explanation, one or the other anyway. And then you have this, like I like the movie The Gray Man. By the way, if you have not watched it, it's a good movie. Do not listen to critics. They don't have lives, and that's why they want to talk negatively about a good movie. Anyway, so I liked the movie The Gray Man. And here you can see that I have used colon in here to talk about me liking this movie. And I have introduced this movie, the name of this movie, by using a colon before the name of the movie. And then the next one is semicolon or semicolon. So you use it to link or to connect to closely related sentences. This is one of the tricky ones, and you have to be really careful unless you are absolutely sure that that those two sentences are closely related, and then you can use semicolon or semicolon. So I have a football match today. This is an independent sentence. And I cannot hang out with you is also an independent sentence. But we know that these two are related. So this person has a football match today and cannot hang out with someone. So these, you can say that this is actually used, this semicolon in here is used instead of because. So Like you can say that because I have a football match today, I cannot hang out with you. I cannot hang out with you because I have a football match today. I have a football match today, so I cannot hang out with you, right? So we know that this is how you use if you want to say because or so. That's when you write down. For instance, you could write down this sentence. You could write down the second sentence first, saying that I cannot, or I can't. You know, contracting it. No, let's not do that, so you don't get used to it. I cannot hang out with you. Hang out. Hang out with you. And then you say, because I have a football match today. I have a football match today. A football match today is the reason why I can't hang out with you. And that's when you can use semicolon instead of the conjunction because. What I'm trying to say is that these two sentences that you want to connect or link with semicolon should be closely related. And if you're not sure about that, do not use semicolon. Just use period. Or maybe just use conjunctions. But do not use semicolon unless you are absolutely sure that it is the correct or the best choice. Now, the next one is dash. You know, this line that we see a lot. So there are two types. So there is n dash and m dash. So dash, you have the n dash is really short, shorter than the m dash. So this is n dash and this is m dash, right? So the n dash is kind of always used to denote a range, like on a scale of 1 to 10, no? So 2002 till to 2003, no, range in general. And the example that you see here is I worked there from 2020, and the word it's used instead of is until. I worked there from 2020 until 2021. Now the M dash, on the other hand, is used instead of other punctuations or punctuation marks. So now you have M dash here, and the example here is my respond. Oh, this would be a response, not respond. This. So my response is clear, right? So you have my response is clear, and then you have the M dash, and then you have no. This is used to explain kind of this. This you could actually use colon in here instead of the M dash, but in here we have used M dash. That's fine. This is just like this example for colon. I liked the movie, The Gray Man. My answer is clear. Then explanation, no. So that's M dash and N dash. Now the next one is hyphen. We have heard this phrase, or we hear this phrase a lot, like hyphenated words, or hyphenated sentences, hyphenated adjectives. And this is how hyphens work. So we use hyphen to combine two separate words. to make one compound word. So, for instance, we have three in here, two or more, maybe I should say. So, step by step, we know that step first word by the second, next step, the third word. We have three words coming together, connected with hyphen, and they mean one thing. We have brother-in-law, we have long term, we have short term, we have long range. Anyway, any compound words connected or linked through hyphens, or you have actually, this 3 year 3-year-old, and then you have boy. This is a compound adjective. So you have, 3-year-old boy. And anyway, so when you connect different words, so two or more words with hyphen, and you connect them, you make one compound word. That's when one compound word is created, and the compound word, of course, usually the meaning of the words that are used to make that one compound word, they are eliminated, vanish, and there is one new meaning, usually, like brother-in-law. So brackets. So you also had braces. Maybe I should mention that here as well. So braces, right? So this is used in mathematics, not in language. We know that in mathematics you have the parentheses first, and then you have the brackets next, and then you have the braces third. So this is parentheses, brackets. They come second, parentheses first, and then you have braces third. This is the large one. So parentheses inside brackets and brackets inside braces. Anyway, but we don't use braces here, but we do use parentheses and brackets. So for brackets, you have the explanation, providing explanation. For instance, if you want to say that, let's read the sentence here, like he, John, told her Jasmine. We know that maybe you might read this, like if you have read the Bible, or if you have read the Quran, then you see that the meanings have a lot of brackets. And that is because John is not mentioned in the sentence, but it is implied. So the explanation for that is provided. So you say that, for instance, Kate, and then you use brackets saying that Kate, John's sister, is here. Okay. And the reason we use brackets is we know John, we don't know Kate. And through reading that, the explanation here is needed for the reader to know who is here, and it provides an extra explanation to clarify who Kate is. The next one is parentheses. With parentheses, you use it to kind of provide further details or meaning of something. For instance, you have here Carl, who likes working out, will not participate in the cake eating competition. This kind of detail about Carl is needed, kind of. It's also a reason why Carl is not going to, or it's unlikely that Carl will participate in the cake eating competition. Someone who likes working out and someone who is health conscious usually does not enjoy participating in unhealthy eating competitions. Anyway, the next one is apostrophe. With apostrophe, you have you use apostrophe. You use it for contractions. Contractions meaning that you have like I am. This is a contraction. We know that in here the apostrophe is used instead of a. The real or the complete form of this phrase is I am, or you are, and then you say your, right? So your is actually you are. I cannot, I can't. No, these phrases. When they are shortened or contracted, or when you want to contract them or shorten them, you can use apostrophe. And also apostrophe can be used to show position. For instance, here you have the example, have you listened to Adele's latest song? So we know that the latest song belongs to Adele because of this apostrophe. So it's, or let's just use apostrophe maybe here as well. It's John's birthday. So we know that now this birthday belongs to John by using this apostrophe. Okay, and when you want to say position, you use apostrophe with an S. And they use different if you want to talk about a group like students' worksheets. If you want to talk about one student's worksheet, you say students' worksheet, apostrophe S. And but if you want to talk about more than one student's worksheets, then you say S apostrophe, or you write down S apostrophe. So students worksheets. In the first sentence, the worksheets actually belong to one student. In the second sentence, the worksheets, they belong to more than one student, or maybe all the students of this teacher, or whoever is talking. Next one is quotation marks. So we have the opening quotation mark. You have these two, and then we have these two. So quotation marks, we have when you want to kind of directly quote someone, directly use someone's words, someone's speech, or someone's writing, that's when we use quotation mark to directly use their speech. And whenever you see quotation marks, you know that this is someone's exact word, or the sentence is made up of someone's exact words. So this is a direct text or speech of someone else or someone. And then here you have, when is the game going to start? You have ask and answer. Okay, great. If we did not have the quotation marks, we would not know that this is whether this is the exact wording Anthony used. But through the question mark, we know. And the next one and the last one is ellipsis. Ellipsis are just the three dots. And this is used to show omission or deletion, or maybe when some words are let out, that's when we use ellipses to indicate that. For instance, you have in here on New Year's Eve, we all began to count down 10, 9, 8, and then you have dot, 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 and then the fireworks went off, right? We know what's going to come after that. Countdown 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom, right? But there is no need to mention that. There is no need to write that down, save some space. Okay. That's when you can use ellipses to say that. So maybe you have Martin Luther King's famous speech, I have a dream, and then dot, dot, dot. Everyone knows the dream. Okay, now the next one, because we have a few minutes left, let's go through this very quickly. The strategies for preparation. This is before the test. So you have to, if you want to succeed, I suggest you use these strategies or you implement these strategies because they have helped me and I'm sure they will help you as well. So you have to connect with others to prepare for the test, especially those who are preparing for the test as well. If you have friends who are preparing for GED or some other kind of test, or IELTS, or maybe TOEFL, come together with them, create a study group and be committed. Always attend the study group and always be on time and be committed is what I'm saying. And when you have friends with whom you can study, studying actually becomes a lot more interesting. And create a meticulous study plan. I'm meaning that a detailed study plan as to what time will you be starting studying, what will you be studying, on what day will you be studying, and these are really important details that you have to have in your plan. And you have to practice as much as you can do, especially the topics that you're not good at or you think that you're not good at. For instance, you have participated in different practices or different assessments during this program. What you can do is you can deliberately go through the questions and just write down the questions that you find difficult and find out what the topic of the question is. If the question is about main ideas and you have difficulty finding main ideas, go and read about main ideas. If the question is about inferences or making logical inference, go read about that. If the question is about, finding the theme, author's tone, I don't know, text structure, story structure, whatever the question is, and there are some questions that I'm sure you will have difficulty answering properly, or maybe easily. Those are the questions that you have to find out the topics of and study those topics and practice questions on those topics or about those topics. I cannot say this enough. Be consistent, meaning that if you spend 10 hours studying GED today and then you forget about GED, altogether for the next week, there is no use that kind of studying. Be consistent. Study for 2 hours a day. Do it every day. Study for 3 hours a day. Do it every day. Be consistent. Allocate a time. For instance, say that from a time that you can certainly study for GED. Say that I'm going to start at 10. I'm not going to stop until I have, maybe I will read or study for 2 hours, and that'll be it. Do not exhaust yourself. You'll burn out, and you won't have enough energy to continue in that speed, and that might disappoint you, which is very bad. And the next one is schedule the test at least 2 weeks ahead, meaning that, of course, I think that maybe you will schedule it even further than 2 weeks, but it's good to do it at least 2 weeks ahead. For the next 2 weeks, because the test is coming, you'll have this pressure of, okay, what should I prepare? What should I study? What tools should I use? And the next one is use the internet. It is your best friend, and this is no hyperbole. And hyperbole, that is used for exaggeration. This is not an exaggeration. It is your best friend. It is the best tool that you can find, and that is going to be your best companion. And you can find answer to any question you might have about GED on the internet. That's how I did it, and that's how you can do it as well. Next one is reach out to people who might be able to help you, whether it's a friend, whether it's a teacher, whether it's me or someone that you know, and ask your questions shamelessly, not rudely. Be polite with your questions, but ask them shamelessly. I mean, do not be ashamed to ask questions. Asking is something to be proud of. You do not know something and you want to know it. That's when you ask. And any teacher, any good teacher, they'll be happy to answer your questions. And the next one is during the test. Be physically prepared, like be in good health, have a well-balanced meal before the test. Not right before the test, but like a few hours before the test. And make sure that you have a good sleep the night before the test. One of the mistakes that I made during the last test of GED, which for me was science, I had not slept for about 30 hours, and I went in, took the test, did not get the score I wanted. It was still a good score, but not the score I wanted. And that really, really affected me. I mean, I was very unhappy about that. And read the instructions carefully, whether it's before a section of the test comes up, whether it's written somewhere about the questions, read them carefully, especially for the questions you have, you have instructions like, read the passage and then answer the questions, or answer the multiple choice questions or drop down questions, or drag and drop questions after reading this passage. You read those instructions carefully. And the questions, of course, read the questions carefully. Look out for words such as except and not. We had this incident today where you might have you might have answered the question incorrectly because you missed noticing the words except and not. So look out for those words and do not hurry. No one is chasing you except the timer. Be really mindful of the timer and have confidence in the efforts you have put in to prepare for the test, and also have confidence in your own ability. I'm sure if you have studied consistently, and if you have studied very hard, and if you have worked hard, then I'm sure you are able to take the test properly and pass the test. And answer the questions based on the passage that you read, not based on your outside knowledge, unless you are asked to make connections or there are some glossary words, some words that you are expected to know, then you can use your outside knowledge to answer those questions. But in general, answer the questions based on the passages that you read. And always try to answer the questions before looking at the options. For instance, you read a question, don't look at the options first. Read the question and try to answer the question before going to read the options. This is, of course, after you have read the passage. You have read the passage and you read the question, and for looking at the options, try to answer the question. And then see the options, and usually the option that is closest to what you thought the answer might be is the correct option. And of course, two of the options are always way off. Like two of the options, just after reading them, you like right after reading them, that those options cannot be correct. The next one is be mindful of the time you spend on each question. For instance, if you have 35 questions and you have uh, 70 minutes, 90 minutes, or whatever time that you have, be mindful of that and use the tools. For instance, you have highlighter, you can use the highlighter to highlight the the text, just like this. You can flag questions, there is a click there and there is a timer there telling you how much time you have remaining. And you have the number of questions. For instance, you say that this is question 13 out of 34. And then like based on the amount of time you have left, how much time you can spend on each of the remaining questions. Next one is answer all the questions. You will not be penalized for any wrong answer. In some tests, you will be penalized for wrong answers, but in GED you're not. So answer all of them. And if you have flagged the questions and you're not really sure if you're not sure about their answers, and make sure you have selected the option you want, because people make the mistake of selecting options they don't want. Anyway, that is it, and we'll do that next week. This is the end of session 15, and I wish you all the best. Thank you so much, and that's it.
All right. Thank you so much to our facilitator, Zach, for today's very informative session. It's been great having everyone with us. Earlier in the event, I asked our audience members a question: true or false, taking the GED test and attaining a high school equivalency certificate are the same thing? And the correct answer to that is false. GED is just a set of tests that determine whether a test taker is qualified to receive a high school equivalency degree. Congratulations goes to at Tony Ariwibowo from Instagram for answering correctly. And thank you to everyone who has participated. Don't forget to tune in next time for another chance to get a shout out from us. And with that, that wraps this episode. It's been fun, but we have to say goodbye for now. For our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, our social medias at AT America for our fun contents, event updates, and so much more. Thank you again, everyone, for joining. Again, my name is James, and we'll see you at the next At America TV episode. Goodbye, everyone.